just down block, hands up. So,
It's also shown what happens if you down block the wrong way.
You're circling away from your big block.
you're circling away from the arm you're dropping, correct? Because every time I want that angle to save myself that half a second
You
or
don't want to
second.
turn into it.
Yes. So, and making sure that your arm is locked. Because if I down block with my arm this way, palm up, my arm bends. You just eat it up.
It'll just pin you.
So it has to be straight. So those are your down blocks for drills. You can do it with partners, just like we were doing before. One guy shoots, one guy spins in circles. One guy shoots, one guy down blocks in circles. Back and forth.
Back to our sport is math. So if you took your kid thinking back last year and they down blocked on every shot, how many less takedowns would they have taken? A lot, right? So it's a simple drill. We drill them every day. College, I can't let a good guy get to my leg, never mind a bad guy. So the down block becomes a really good drill to work.
So as far as outside defense, meaning not out of a tie-up and not out of when the guy already beat you, those are your options for defense. Head, hands, down block, when the tie-ups, active hands. I don't know, at least 50 or 60% of the time, especially when they're younger, mistakes happen in a match. The kids don't get in. It's going to happen. We have to know what to do there too. So Ethan gets in and starts head outside. Ethan gets in on a high crotch. He's here. He's in perfect position. His head's up, back straight, hips are underneath him, and if we were finishing, he'd be driving in. Depending on which attack this guy's in on, the sprawl is not just a sprawl. It changes. There's different techniques to the sprawl depending on which shot he's in. So with the head to the outside, the fundamental thing that we need to teach the kids is we have to change the angles. So right now, we're head to head. We're facing each other, and he's got the advantage because he's quite honestly about to hit that corner line. So I'd give it 60-40 to him right now because he did all the right things. What I see most of the time when I'm watching the younger kids and some of the kids in high school that didn't learn yet either is they all come over. It's just a natural friggin' thing to do. They come over the top. And all you're doing is making his job easier. Because when you come over, he can just eat you up, eat you up. There's nothing you can do about it. So coming over is like a death sentence. If I did that, he'd be like, oh, bitch. You can't go over because there really is no option for you to, when you're advanced. You're in college and advanced through funk and all that kind of stuff.
It's desperation.
It's a desperation thing though. So what you're really looking to do, and this is like applicable from the youngest all the way through college, they still drill it. Cross faces don't work in terms of practicality. They're nice to be a jerk if you really want to piss the kid off or being a jerk and like even, that's fine. But if the guy wants to win bad enough, he don't give a shit about cross faces. I got a nose the size of whatever. You think I care if he flips me off? I'm going to eat it up because I'm going to smile over him with a bloody mouth after I won. It's not stopping me. It doesn't stop any kind of physical thing on my body. It doesn't affect the physics of how I finish the shot. So all it really does is piss me off and make me want to slam it harder. So what we're really trying to get these kids to do is stuff the head. They have to have this head going from up where he's strong to down. This stupid ass 6-inch move will change everything on defense. Everything. Because he's no longer strong. He no longer has the muscles to finish. I didn't even sprawl yet. But if I wanted him to tell him to stand up, could you get up? No. All I'm doing is holding the neck down. So that is number one. Again, when you're 6, 7, 8, it's actually easier to get them to buy in because the other kid's not some roided out kid in high school that's been lifting for 3 years. It's easy to push the head down, and it works. So once they push it down and they see, oh, I have power here, that's 1. 2, again, we're head to head, I have to change that angle. On a head outside shot, I have to cut the angle. So I'm going to take this knee, the way I teach it is I teach them, don't actually give him a UFC knee to the side, but that is what you're essentially doing. I'm going to try and drive this knee into his ribs, and I'm facing this way, and when I'm done, I'm going to face that way, all while I'm stuffing the head. So my sprawl is taking the angle from here to now here with his head stuffed in the mat. So now I have the angle. His head's no longer up. His back isn't straight. His hips aren't under it. And so all four of the keys in wrestling to win are taken out the window just by a turn sprawl with a stuffed head. So the days of trying to rip his face off here while he just eats you up anyway have gone. And the kids that are elevated now that are good at defense are taking the stuffed head and then they're turning the angle. And again, I'm teaching it so that they understand I'm driving this knee in, but what you're really doing is just turning that angle and kicking your leg back and arching your hips down. So it's like this. I want my hips arched because that's putting all the pressure down. If I don't have any pressure on it, I'm here, he's going to heat it up. There's no pressure. So I have that pressure. Hip, 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 hip. My head down on the mat and he can't move. So at this point, if I want to stalemate from here, I really should be able to. He may have a hand lock, he may want to score, but I don't care. His head's down on my hips are in, hey, heat it up. No way. There's no way. I don't have to waste any energy. So that concept in itself is the most important part of the sprawl. It's getting the angle, keeping the pressure. Whatever technique you want to show from that is perfectly acceptable. Cradle from there, you can short offense from there, you can end up with front head from there. All the technique that we know, and we've learned over the years of being wrestlers ourselves, is applicable now because you're in the right position. You're in an improved power position. So when we put the technique videos up, we'll have all sorts of different variations of shit you can do from different stuff.
And the physical part of this and what makes this work is when again get in on the high crotching thing on Anthony. Right now, Anthony is fighting his most powerful force, which is forward. He has no power on his side. I want to attack his front. I'm turning the corner to hit because now I'm attacking the side, and all he can do is reach out and hold it. So I'm changing the power angle. And this comes into play in a bunch of areas. That's why I'm interrupting here. But that's what's going on here. And then what I would teach is to pick the far ankle, scroll my way out of the leg attack and score. But again, you can do whatever you want. But getting them to turn that corner changes everything. And I used to teach it when he was 7, so I think you can teach it at that.
So when you're in this position and you have him extended, and his head stuffed, and your hips are in, the weaker kids will just let go. That's what happens when no one's scoring. The tougher kids that are going to hold on, again, I'm looking to improve my position. So there used to be a time where here you would rip his face off. Rip it off and get your leg back. To some extent, does it work sometimes? Sure. So I'm telling you, against the kid that doesn't care, he's not going to let go. So when I stuff this head, I'm looking to knock him off his face. So there's a number of ways to do that. I prefer a tight waist here.
Yes.
So I do a reverse tight waist from this side, and when you do it right, and he has no air, you really can just lean into him, he's going to fall. If he stays up, you have a knee tap. So you can take your hand off that head for a second, tap the knee, and use your arm to throw him over. Now he's on his hip. Now that you've dominated the position, he's flat on his hip, and he can't go anywhere. Now, if you want to take your thumb and rip that across his nose, you're like, what's that? Because I like pain. I'm all about pain. Pain makes you win leads. I don't like injuring people, but I like causing pain.
The way the Russian explained that to me is, we don't do cross face. We brush teeth.
So, again, it's not that these moves don't work, it's just you have to be in the right place to hit them to make them effective. So, on a head outside shot, again, he's in, stuff the head is 1, always. 2, we're changing the angle, hip pressure down, and then again, I have to get him off his base. There's a lot of ways to do it. You can pick this ankle and throw it. You can do pick this ankle, step it over it. You can come here. I mean, there's a million techniques. But I find, especially at a younger age, the best thing you can get them to do is knock them off the base. Because then you're no longer a threat. Even if our kid doesn't do all the right things, he makes a mistake here and there. This kid is stuck here with no breath, and your kid's ripping his face off, eventually he's going to get that too. So
when you come on the turn, are you leading your knee first, or are you just, is the knee following?
So,
Understand?
I do. So when I explained it to these guys, like when I showed them the first time. I told them literally drag your knee through the ribs.
Right.
So when you do it, you may not end up in the perfect position, but you're getting the concept of, so no, I don't want my knee under here
Right.
when I do it. But to get them to understand, that's how much you have to turn to get that angle, that's okay. If you hit them for a second, it's fine, as long as you pop right back into a sprawl afterwards. But the point of me giving them that, the advice that way is, if I just tell them turn the angle, this is what I get. And they didn't really turn the angle. And now my knee's all the way out front.
You're just
So,
initiating.
correct. I'm just doing that to get them to really fully buy into that turn. If you come up with a different way to do it, that's fine. As long as they end up on that
Yeah,
angle.
that works, it's easy.
Right, that's what I thought. So I'm just going to take the knee, boom, and then I'm here.
Right.
And it's power. It's power. So in practice, when you do sprawl throw, your sprawls should always end up where you sprawl hard, and then you circle up. And when they hit that sprawl, you should hear, it should be hard. So when they're going, if you sprawl through, and you're watching the game, all of the sprawls need to be me, pow, circling up, pow, circling up. So if you're not seeing that, that's when you start talking to the kid ahead. And you do it more like this. Again, there's 6 your expectations are here. But it's not so advanced that they can't learn it. So this sprawl doesn't apply. That's what I learned last time. Because we didn't know that. You sprawl. That's how I learned. That's how we all learned. And then as I got older and got introduced into new ways, I realized that this has no power. I might get my legs out of the way. But the way he used to teach me was, cross your feet. There's a boxing glove on your hip. And you're using it to literally punch him with your hip. And it works the same way in a second. I'll show you the inside. But you can make that joke to the kids to make them laugh or buy in or whatever. But you're basically pretending to punch the shit out of him with your hip when you're turning. It's got to be power.
It's got to be fire.
It's got to be power. So, stuffing the head, turning the angle. Again, once you're there, you can incorporate all the techniques you know, all the moves you like to teach, that kind of stuff. We'll have stuff on the website you can pull from. But it's the essential positioning of here to here that they have to get. Make sense?
So that, like, when they do that drill, scroll, like, are you always scrolling on the same leg, like, or like, what if you're like dominant, like, on your left, you know what I mean, like?
My personal opinion when they're young is to have them try it both ways, even if they really suck at the other one, it's okay. When they get older, they're going to pick which side they like favorite, obviously, and then it's good to know both sides of defense. Offense, less so. Still good, but you can get by with only knowing more of your side that you're favored with. But you don't get to decide what leg that guy shoots.
The shot's going to dictate which side
Right.
you sprawl.
Right. So you really want to get defensively both sides because, like I said, you can't tell him what leg to shoot on. So the sprawl comes from your lead leg. So we don't really teach square stance because there's no offense from here. So when the kid's wrestling, if he's shooting this leg and it's his favorite leg, he's going to be confident to hit it. We have to get him to bring this leg forward, and then on the zone, on the drill, you can stop it after 30 seconds. All right, switch legs, and then make them stay on this leg. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be unathletic looking and uncoordinated and everything else, but they'll get better. And as they're moving, they'll eventually start hitting this leg, this leg, and it doesn't really matter for them. So yes, you definitely want to get them on both. Head outside shots are easier to defend because here we go. When his head's to the outside, he can't stop me from getting the angle. He just can't. When his head's to the inside, it's a different story. He can stop me from getting behind him. So head to the outside, you'll find the kids have an easier time of stuffing the head